About 5 minutes until the close. So we'll take a look at where the Qs and SPY end up here. Because we are at a pretty important area on the Qs and SPY here as far as determining our bias for the rest of the week. So we'll revisit that as we get to the close. Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for August 9th, 2022. Qs down 1.16%. We're looking at the hourly right now, and you can see it started to lose that uptrend here. 20 MA has started to point down, and so with that, we are starting to look more like a pullback is coming on the Qs. Okay, SPY, however, is still holding that support. You can see the SPY hasn't broken the low from Friday, and really still has higher lows and coming from a higher high. So SPY is a bit more neutral. Okay. So because of that, the difference in the Qs and SPY, a little bit of relative strength there on the SPY. We'll take a look at the IWM maybe just as a tiebreaker here. And IWM, yeah, still in an uptrend. Yeah, so with the SPY, with the IWM, I'm going to be more neutral going into tomorrow. I typically don't really weight the IWM all too heavily. Focus is really the Qs and SPY, and there's a little bit of just difference in the hourly trend that's going on. So a little bit, so going into tomorrow, neutral. All right, with that little bit of variation between the two. And if the SPY also gets underneath Friday's low, then we'll be short-term bearish. Okay, and looking for that pullback here on the daily. We talked about yesterday, that tag of the 200 MA, its significance as a resistance spot. So we'll see if that plays out, if that gives more follow through, because we have been watching the hourly for that potential break, and we did get it on the Qs. SPY may be next to follow, but hasn't done so yet. All right, so neutral for me going into tomorrow. All right, I thought today probably the most difficult earnings day that I've seen since earnings season started. And so difficult can vary from person to person what is the most difficult scenario. For some people, it's just being patient, waiting for the setups to show up. What I thought was difficult about today is that the setups were there. The follow through was kind of hit or miss. Some worked well, like they should, while others were kind of surprisingly limited in their follow through, and limited in their movement. So we'll take a look at some. Okay, I'll just do them kind of in order, and you'll see what I mean as we go through them. Okay, so we'll start with the gap here on the VTNR. Really like the gap. Okay, gapping under the 200. Looks really, really nice. Gapping underneath support. All right. So ending the trend there on the daily. So the first play for me was just a breakdown in the morning. Okay. Just off the kind of opening range there. So the way that I did it was kind of put these two bars together. I didn't know if this bar was going to finish forming or not, and kind of played it that way. So my stop went right above that bar's high. So it's almost like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, you could say here's the 1, 2, 3, and then underneath. Okay. So here was the stop over. I gave it to 901, and then entry as it broke underneath 859. Okay. The first play actually didn't work. Now, if I had used high of the day as the stop, then I would have been able to stay in this. But I was playing it as like a 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought the bounce back that we got, that was enough to have the stop there, and you can see that I did get shaken out. Okay, so that shook me out, and then started to it did that pivot, which I could have gotten back in there because it immediately reversed after getting me out, but I waited for this nice base breakdown here. So I just put all of this together and played this. So first play didn't work, but I like this gap a lot, so the replay was good. Okay, replay maxed out, I think got to actually around 4 Rs here. I was already out of it after it got to here. When it started to bounce off 750, that's where I got out of it. Okay, had one more drop after that, and then that put in the bottom. So that made up for the first play and some. So that was good on the VTNR on the replay. But of course, didn't like, taking a loss on it first. So really good gap though, right, on the VTNR. All right, gapping, I like that a lot. My next play was the Bird, BIRD. Again, a really good gap. I like this gap a lot. Gapping underneath 2 green bars, also clearing some support. I thought we had room to 395 or 4 or so. I thought we had a lot of room clearing that support. Okay, so this was the play on the Bird on this morning base breakdown. Okay, another kind of breakdown type of play. Was looking pretty good. I did kill half when it didn't follow through on this sell setup. Okay, so this was looking pretty good. I thought downtrend should be maintained. Target, like I said, closer to $4. When it failed on this sell setup, I said let's kill half. Okay, and then we held on to the rest, and the rest actually ended up stopping. So the back half failed. But really good gap, and I like the entry too. So this is kind of where I started to kind of sense some things that there's some, good gaps, some good setups, but they weren't necessarily getting to targets. Okay, and so that's where things started to get a little bit trickier, or at least evidence of that. Okay, next play was the METC. METC, like this base breakdown a lot. Okay, on the daily here, getting lots of volume. It is a wide range red bar. Of course, we're looking to short on this base break. I'll show you where our entry was. Entry was another base breakdown right here. See, it broke down and started to pop right back up. Now, looking at it, it looks like it's basically going to close, pretty close to there, but you can see once, it broke down, got a little bit of follow through. I thought once we broke $9, because we were in it from 905, 904, when it broke $9, it was going to get some decent follow through. In fact, just reversed and got bought. So that was the METC. So that, that plus the Bird, I was, kind of surprised. Some of these I thought were pretty good gaps, and not really going. Okay. Next play was the AHCO. Okay. AHCO was just a base breakdown. I think Sammy also called this. For me, it triggered here once it broke the lows here. Okay, actually triggered right there. I think Sammy had a play that joined right there. So that was pretty nice. Good follow through there. Again, another base breakdown, another pretty good gap. This is what we call an island reversal. So that makes this one a little bit more unique. So yeah, the gap up creates the island and then gapping against it. Yeah, it's a typically pretty powerful gap. And then, this is very much a similar kind of setup to the others. Just, worked a lot better. Okay. So that's what I mean by, today, it's not that, today more setups failed than normal or that anything like that. It's more that there was just a lot. There's a lot to look at. And so you could easily, miss out on a good one or play one of the ones that didn't work and then watch something else work, without you in it. So, of course, we're going to have those days, and especially during earnings season, it happens pretty frequently where we have a bunch of setups and they almost all work. And especially all the really good gaps, they almost all work. And so, those days are great, and that's what we get excited for. That's why we like earnings season. But I thought that today was a pretty kind of hit or miss as far as, you even getting a good gap, getting a good setup, and then whether or not the follow through was going to be there. Really, really varied. I think I'm looking for the QTRX. Is that right? Yeah. Like this one I missed in the morning. This one was pretty good. Pretty nice gap. You can see here, this looks just like a lot of the other plays we already looked at. First has a 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Lower. Another sets up another base here. Breaks down from there. Right. So, there's just a lot of stuff like that. I didn't think the longs really set up all that well. I thought the setups were a little bit sloppy here and there. EGIO got some follow through. That was a gap up, but didn't have any shock value or anything, but just stayed pretty strong up towards the top. So I thought the shorts looked a lot better, and the shorts got a lot more follow through. And especially when we notice, the Qs, as weak as they were, right? That's gonna kind of help some of these shorts get going. And then if you're going to play something long, really has to be kind of an extreme example of relative strength. I didn't think we had a lot of good examples of those. So you can see that's why the focus for me was more on the short plays. So yeah, I thought it was a challenging day. Challenging day, and not in the sense that you had to be patient, that you had to be picky, although you could have been, and maybe that would have worked out better for some. But it wasn't a lack of setups. It was that there was just a lot of setups. Okay. And surprisingly, some really good ones didn't work as much as enough to get to a target. So yeah, we'll see. I know we have I think CPI coming out tomorrow morning. Um, we'll find out if maybe that is what created a little bit more of a hold in the market. Today pretty narrow day. And if that, once we get that out of the way, if the market kind of picks a direction and gets going, I mean, that's perfectly fine with me. We're going into tomorrow with a neutral bias anyway. So we'll see what we get. If we, break for the SPY, breaks below Friday's low, right? Then we can start looking for that pullback, deeper pullback. And then Qs, of course, will follow with it. So, or lead. All right. So, yeah, we'll see what we get tomorrow. Hopefully you did well today. All right. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. All right. Have a good evening.